Здравствуйте, товарищи, and welcome to another edition of Stalin's Coffee House. And it's been hard for me to try and do one of these. You know, I've just been moving, and then I had school starting up, and I've been just really swamped. And it's been hard for me to find a period of time where I can sit down and do another one of these pieces for you guys. But I got something here that I've been thinking about for quite some time, and I've been wanting to do a show about for a while, but I just never got the opportunity. But now's the opportunity. Anyway, what I want to talk about in this video is the situation in Iraq. And for those of you, most of you probably know that as of about 4 months ago, the Americans pulled their combat troops out of Iraq. But at the same time, they still left 50,000 people there in the country. And to give you a little bit of perspective, that 50,000 people is larger than the armies of most industrialized nations, including Canada and Spain and Italy and Portugal and all these other places. So that's a lot of troops there. And I listened to a political commentator. His name is Dan Carlin, and he also does a history show, which I believe I've plugged on my channel before, on my Let's Play channel. And he was saying that we can't leave these 50,000 people there. We're not really pulling out. These politicians are just pulling the wool over your eyes. Don't believe them kind of deal, which I definitely would agree with. But Dan also has a online discussion board where people come and they talk about history and they talk about politics and discuss all these different things. And there's a post there that really got me thinking about this and about what I want to talk about. And basically, it was a soldier is a guy who said he was a soldier in Iraq. And I think that might be a little bit disingenuous. I think he might kind of be lying there, because I could have gone on that board and said, I was a soldier in Iraq, and this is what I think. Anyway, he was just saying that we need to keep those 50,000 guys in the country because it's not stable. There's still all these rocket attacks. We're not ready to pull out. We got to wait till stability resumes, and then we can get out of there. And then we can pull these 50,000 guys out for real. And then he kind of turned it around and said, well, what do you think, Dan? I don't think you have any, solutions there. And Dan Carlin came up and he wrote a very nice post, which is what really got me thinking about this whole situation. And I'm going to read this post because it's a very interesting piece, and it also is a great jumping point of, for me to go to where I really want to talk. Also, I'm kind of trying a little bit of a new format here. I want to try and bring, other pieces onto here and talk about them and maybe respond to them instead of just being me talking. I've got a little desk here, and I'm sitting in a chair, and I'm actually in the bedroom, because you can see the bed's right beside here. Hopefully I'll find a better place for lighting when we get the chance. But anyway, let's start off the post. First off, Dan says, your question is too large to answer here, although we've talked about Iraq many times in the show before. In a nutshell, here's how I see it. The key is having open eyes about the future of Iraq. The argument is that we need to stay there to prevent a bloodbath that a post-occupation civil war will produce. Yet we are pretending, lying to ourselves might be a better term, that the measures we are currently employing will prevent that bloodbath. Unless we recognize the situation and try and remedy the issues, the bloodbath will come when we leave, no matter when we leave. Or will come after we leave, no matter when we leave. For example, civil war. I don't need to tell you this. You live with the reality all the time, even though I think he doesn't. But it's a hellish mix of people in Iraq. They should be a long way from one another, like Serbs and Croats. But nature placed them on top of each other, and colonialism put them in the same nation. Fix that, at least as much as you can. The three-state solution was one of the initial ones proposed. Many smart people were on board with that. Yet we choose to try and rebuild a central government instead. Well, now that the former Yugoslavs are in their own nations, they seem better. I wonder if we solidified Kurdistan as a nation, gave Baghdad to the center Sunnis, and the south to the Shia, wouldn't that be the answer? So basically what Dan is saying, he's likening the situation in Iraq to the situation in former Yugoslavia. where he's saying there's a lot of different ethnic peoples in Iraq. They don't want to live under one another. We should split them up into their own nations. Anyway, continuing. Now, don't get me wrong. Everyone is going to be mad except the Kurds, unless they don't get Kurluk somehow. And who gets the oil money will be a sticking point. It's one of the things that sunk the three-state solution ideas. But even if they fight, that's what we're supposed to be doing with the occupation. Providing enough security so that normalcy is in quotation marks, could resume. But normalcy can't resume because normalcy in Iraq was a brutal dictator keeping all these people forcibly together when it might not be natural to expect this to happen. When the U.S. leaves, even if it's 20 years from now, it'll be like Tito dying. And Tito was, Comrade Tito was the guy who held Yugoslavia. He was a leader of Yugoslavia after World War II, and he had that position for quite some time. We might actually do a show on Comrade Tito down the line. But anyway, continuing. No matter how long the factions in Iraq haven't been killing one another, once an outside restraint is removed, they will kill each other again. Unless you separate them, giving them their own areas would eventually allow them to maintain a power equilibrium where they can defend their borders, make alliances for protection, etc. That restores a system of balance based on reality. Now, these people don't want to live under each other's control, and a central government isn't going to keep them from trying to do something about the situation except via force, via the next Saddam. Had we done the three-state idea initially, as some proposed, our occupation could have been a stabilizing period for all these new entities to take shape and grow independent, so that we could have left them in stages, each time making sure that everyone was stable. The way we choose to do things means civil war is on hold till we go, whenever we go. Anyway, to answer your original question, what do we do? Well, if the plan is to stay until a central government can prevent a bloodbath on their own, we might as well get out now. The only reason to keep troops in the area is to see that we are bringing stability to an idea/plan that will hold after we leave. If we can't leave until the central government can keep a lid on ethnic tensions, we are never leaving. The powder to spark a civil war is all over the ground in Iraq. We seem to have no plan but to stay there and prevent all sides from killing one another, hoping that eventually they will calm down. I don't think they will calm down, and even if they did, there are outside entities with national security interests keeping antagonisms and power struggles going. So that was the post. Interesting read, even if you don't necessarily agree with what Dan has to say. That really got me thinking about how he likened the situation in Iraq to the situation in the former Yugoslavia, which I think might be a little bit disingenuous. And I dislike how he likened Saddam to Comrade Tito, because if you were to choose like a dictator to rule your country, let's say you could choose any dictator from world history, or you had to choose any dictator from world history to run your country, Tito's probably up there, and the one you would choose, if you understand what I mean. Basically, I'm saying he wasn't exactly a bad guy and a bad dictator. But what he is saying though is that we can't let these people all live together because they all want to kill each other, and no matter what happens, and no matter how long we stay there, as soon as we leave, they're going to kill each other unless we put them in their own separate nations. Because colonialism forced them to all live under this one nation, and until we fix that, then we're not going to be able to fix anything. And that got me thinking about different areas where it seems that when you've got two different ethnic mixes of people, or two or more, three as you likened in the case of Iraq, there always seems to be some kind of tension and maybe even a genocide or some kind of bloody civil war. And I was trying to think about, okay, well, let's think about nations that have two or more different ethnical groups living in them. And let's find a country where they didn't necessarily kill each other, where they might have killed each other, but a bloody civil war and genocide didn't erupt. And the one that I could really think of in my mind was my nation, Canada. Because Canada, since its inception, has had two ethnic mixes of people trying to live in some kind of equilibrium with one another. Obviously, the French and the English. And things haven't always been easy here between the English and the French, but I mean, we've still held the country together through a number of different, hardships, and kept stability without, English genocide of the French or something like that.